I'm gonna talk about how to configure user confirmed EPM elevation settings policy using Microsoft Intune. So it's kind of an EPM part two. I already took a EPM session, I think way back in September. It's regarding the support approved method, and uh, this is going to be second session. And if I want to cover all the other aspects, I need to take another 2 or 3 sessions in the upcoming month. So before jumping to the subject, let me quickly introduce about me, myself, Vaishnav. I have been in the IT industry almost 11 plus years. Intune, SCCM, different device management solution are my key focus areas, and I write technical blogs and impart my knowledge via HTMD community. This is my LinkedIn handle. You can feel free to follow me over there as well. So without any further ado, we'll jump into today's agenda. So I'll be talking about what is endpoint privilege management EPM, and the prerequisites and the requirement of endpoint privilege management. And we'll also talk about the elevation settings policy and elevation rule policy. Again, one more point here. Today I'm gonna only talk about the elevation settings policy, one particular scenario. So I'll just cover what is rule policy is, and after that I'll cover what is user confirmed EPM elevation policy, and we'll create, deploy, and monitor user confirmed EPM elevation, and we'll also see the end user experience of user confirmed elevation. And we have a Q&A session at the end. You can feel free to ask your question over the chat, or in case required, you can unmute yourself or ask your question. So just jumping to my first slide here, I just mentioned what is endpoint privilege management EPM with Microsoft Intune. Endpoint privilege management, your organization user can run as a standard user without admin rights, and they can complete their tasks require elevated privileges, and the tasks are commonly require administrative privileges, something like application install, just a example like Microsoft 365 application or any other application, and updating device drivers and running certain Windows diagnostics. In endpoint privilege management support your zero trust journey by helping your organization to achieve a user base having a very least privilege. So while allowing user to run tasks allowed by organization and remain productive. So as an organization point of view, it's a tedious task to give all the associate having admin rights, and that will create a vulnerable state. Again, security and productivity both are parallel. We can't compromise any of this. So that is the reason Microsoft Intune introduced this particular technology. And the following slide discuss the requirement of EPM, provide a functional overview of how these capability work, and introduce the important concept for EPM. So with that point, I also want to add one more stuff over here, and this policy or the EPM is only applies to Windows devices, and it's mainly concentrating on Windows 10 and Windows 11 device. And I have few prerequisites and requirements that I mentioned in the upcoming slide. Yes. So endpoint privilege management require an additional license beyond Microsoft Intune Plan 1 license. So either you can choose a standalone license that add only EPM, or the license as part of Microsoft Intune Suite. So if you are opting Intune Suite, as you already aware, there is other offering also. It's a bundled offering, right? So you already having other offerings. Either you can go for standalone offering, or you can opt for Intune Suite. So whichever makes sense for your organization, based on that you can opt it. And Microsoft Entra Joint or Microsoft Hybrid Entra Joint, both the devices are supported for EPM. And Microsoft Intune Enrolled or Microsoft Configuration Manager, again SCCM, co-managed devices, both are supported. So if you're using co-managed devices, there is no workload shift is required. And again, the clear line of sight without SSL inspection, that is nothing but the port requirement like TCP port 443 and other required URLs. So that is about the network requirement and the supporting operating system. So of course, Windows 11 24H2 and Windows 11 23H2 with KB 5031455, and Windows 11 22H2 with KB 5029351, and Windows 11 21H2 with KB 5034121, and Windows 10 with Windows 10 22S2 and 21S2 with KB 5030211. So these are the minimum requirements. So any KB after that will also allow you to install EPM. So I'll jump into next slide here. I just mentioned about few points, important points. The elevation settings policy will show as not applicable for the device that does not support with an supported operating system, which means whatever I mentioned over here, if the version is less than that, so it will definitely show it's not applicable. And EPM is currently only compatible with 64-bit operating system, and Windows ARM is not currently supported. That also one point. And Windows 365 is nothing but cloud PC also supported using the supported operating system version. And workplace joint devices are not supported for EPM, and Azure Virtual Desktop, I mean the non-persistent is not supported for endpoint privilege management. So why I mentioned non-persistent, I think it's almost in a public preview or in a GA, AVDI with persistent version will be supported for EPM. So that is the reason I just mentioned only non-persistent version. And government cloud, US government cloud, community cloud, GCC high, and US Department of Defense DoD both are supported using EPM. And what are the role-based access control rules? RBAC rules are supported. So there are two explicit role over here, that is endpoint privilege manager and endpoint privilege reader. Those are the explicit roles, and on top of that you also have the endpoint security manager and read-only operator. So as already mentioned, it's an inbuilt role, and endpoint privilege manager can perform all other actions, and the reader roles, both security and endpoint privilege reader role, can have only the viewing capacity or limited access for the EPM blade. So we'll jumping to next session, next slide, and here I mentioned the elevation settings policy and elevation role policy. So again, I just wanted to make a point over here. Before you are using endpoint privilege management policy, you must have an EPM license in your tenant as an Intune add-on. And I'll just explain what is elevation settings policy is. An elevation settings policy will activate EPM on your client device. So that is the base policy, I would say. And this policy allow you to configure settings that are specific to the client but are necessarily related to an elevation or an individual application or task. So this is the mandatory policy. If you want to opt the EPM, so either you have other option, different option in elevation settings policy itself. That one of the option I already mentioned, support approved, and this is another option. And what is elevation rule policy? Again, elevation rule policy link an application or task to an elevation action. Use this policy to configure an elevation behavior of an application in your organization. So that allow what when application run on the device. So it is as simple as, if I'm taking an example, let's assume Google Chrome is allowed in an organization for standard user as well. So what we can do on top of the elevation settings policy, you can create a rule in such a way that all the Google Chrome installs are allowed throughout your organization. That you can create a policy by using the rule elevation rule policy. So that is one point. And today's topic, what is user confirmed elevation? As I already mentioned, a user confirmed elevation require a user to click on a confirmation prompt to run a file, and there are more user confirmation you can add. So whenever you are configuring this particular option, one require user to authenticate your organization credential. I would say it's a re-authentication. Again, we have already logged in to a device with your credential only, so it's kind of a re-authentication. And another option is user to enter a business justification. While entering the enter a justification up to the user, and EPM can collect and report it when the device is configured to report an elevation data as part of an elevation settings policy. So that particular option also I'll show you to do during demo, and that option also we can configure while we configure in this particular option. And here I just mentioned about the available add-ons. Again, we are only concentrating on endpoint privilege management. The first point over here that is already mentioned as standalone add-on, and you can opt it with Intune Suite as well. And what are the other offerings also included in Intune Suite? So and enterprise app management, advanced analytics, and you can see remote help also over there, and Microsoft Cloud PKA and other options also added in Intune Suite. So right now we are only concentrating on the very first option, endpoint privilege management. It is nothing but EPM. So here are some other default elevation responses, as I already mentioned. So there is deny all request. So EPM will, if I am configuring an elevation policy in such a way that deny all request, what exactly EPM will do? So EPM will block all the elevation file and show a pop-up to the pop-up window to the user. And the second option is what we are going to talk about today, the require support. Not the second option. So this option I already took a session based on that. Require support approval. EPM will prompt a user to submit a support approval request. And the third option, or the last option, require a user confirmation, and EPM will prompt the user to confirm their intent to run a file. So first we need to enter a business justification. Will require the user to enter a business justification to run the file, and as well as the Windows authentication. It kind of a re-authenticate with your credential. So EPM will require the user to authenticate using with their organization credential. So that's all I have in my theoretical part, and let's jump into a quick live demo. Give me a sec. Let me log into Intune portal, and what I'm going to do over here is you can navigate to endpoint security, and under endpoint security you can see the all security aspects, and here you can find the endpoint privilege management, and click on that, and you can see the reports, policy, reusable settings, elevation request, everything. And I'm just clicking on the policies over here, and I will click on the create policy, and you can see the platform. Only we have Windows platform, and the profile type. And the profile type, I'm just setting it as the elevation settings policy, and click on create. So here we need to give a meaningful name. Just I'm giving HTMD user confirmed elevation settings policy, and the platform is already set as Windows. And click on next. And this is the configuration blade. As you already aware, the elevation settings establish a default behavior of an endpoint elevation client. So by default, you can see the endpoint privilege management is enabled, and here I'll just configure require user confirmation. So when I am setting the default elevation response, there is one more option for the validation. So we have two validation. I'm checking both the validation, business justification, and as well as the Windows authentication, both. And you can also see the send elevation data for reporting. This is the point I just talked during my slide presentation, so that if you're checking it as yes, all the elevation requests you can fetch in Intune portal with report, and you can also have the reporting scope, diagnostic data for all endpoint elevation. So, and also we have the diagnostic data with managed elevation and the diagnostic data only. So, which means if I'm configuring diagnostic data with all endpoint elevation, irrespective of managed and unmanaged elevation, management with EPM elevation, and unmanaged means whatever you are as doing as a user with an admin context, all are recorded. So that is the diagnostic data with all endpoint elevation, and diagnostic data with managed elevation only for EPM, and only diagnostic data which will capture only few components that is only related to the health of the EPM. So for now, I am just mentioning selecting as diagnostic data with and all endpoint elevation, And this is the main settings, I would say. So once you have configured these settings and click on next, since I'm using a test tenant, I am just keeping the default scope tag as default, and I will assign the policy to one of my um, test device. So I'm just selecting EPM test. That is my test device, and there is no other exclusion or no filter, nothing. And just click on next. And here I am go ahead and create the policy. So in interest of time, I already created this policy for you. I'll just go back to the policy, and you can see over here the same policy, whatever I meant, I described just now, the same policy I already created, and you can see uh, uh, the device, whatever the device it got success. So this is my test device. In this device only, I'm going to show you how the elevation look like as an end user. So let me quickly jump into my test device and downloaded Notepad++ just for just to demonstrate an example. And um, I'm considering myself as an normal user, standard user. And if you want to run this policy or run this particular file as a standard user, just right click on that. So whenever EPM enabled, right? So you will get a run with elevated access right click add-on to be added, and there is a few other component also. So I'll show you that as well. So whenever EPM enables with elevation settings policy, under the operating system folder program files, you can see over here Microsoft EPM agent uh, folder, and here you can see all other components that installed in this particular machine. Actually, Intune management extension is putting all these components to the user whenever we are configure the settings in Intune. So that is about the client side. And if I want to run the particular file with the user confirmed status, just right click on that file, run with elevated access. So it will ask for the business justification. I'm just putting needed for BAU task, and I'll click on continue. So you can see over here, you will be asked to verify the identity. Once verified, you will have the administrator access to install this particular app. So click on continue. It will ask for my credential. I'm just putting my credential. So you can see over here, I have the admin privilege of this particular application. So I'll just install the application, and the application got successfully installed. So this is how the user confirmed EPM elevation will work. And I know EPM is a vast topic altogether. This is only one point I am talking about today, because it may require another 2 or 3 sessions. I will also talk about architecture part, and as well as the other rule policy, and there is one more option as I already mentioned, right? So there is one more option I just wanted to show you here in the configuration. Yes. So apart from what I mentioned in my slide, there is one more deny all request. So deny all request means it will, I think that I already showed. If it is not configured, it will, as simple as that, it will deny all requests. And on top of that, I will create some rule policy, and I want to take another session in upcoming months, and we will explore more about EPM in that session as well. So that's all I have for today about user confirmed EPM elevation settings policy.